So today we'll discuss about responsive design. So how the browser size will get adjusted. Okay, browser will get adjusted based on how you shrink or how you expand the browser window. The websites will get adjusted to that. So we saw what are the problems with the fixed layout and what are the problems with liquid layout. So here you can see this is an example for responsive design. So based on a different size, okay, you may be opening this website in tab or laptop, desktop, or even in a mobile of a different size. Okay, so when the browser strings below the certain threshold, if you can see here, so it is a small window, browser window. It is going below the threshold level. Even then the layout will get adjusted. Okay, so neatly the websites will be displayed in a different window size. So here we have to understand four components. So liquid layout, scaling images to viewport. Okay. So here we are going to study about a viewport concept and customizing CSS for a different viewport. Okay. Based on media queries. Okay. So exam we may get what is viewport, what is media query. Okay. So these things we are going to study. So we have seen about already we saw about the liquid layout. So in the responsive design, first before discussing in detail, we start with the liquid layout. Okay, so in the liquid layout, we give in terms of percentages. Okay, so we have already studied right. In a fixed layout, we give in terms of pixels. In liquid layout, we give in terms of percentage. Okay, so this is an example. Image max width is 100%. So this does not change the downloaded size of the image. So that is a drawback of liquid layout. Okay, so it will not shrink or expand the images. Okay, if we give in terms of percentages, it only shrinks or expands the visual display to fit the size of the browser window, never expanding beyond its actual dimension. We already saw so how the text will get adjusted, okay, in liquid layout based on how you shrink or expand the window size. But when it goes to images, the images won't get adjusted, okay, to the window size. It will remain in the same percentage. So to overcome that problem, we will study about viewports. Okay, so a key techniques in creating a responsive layout make use of the ability of current mobile browsers to shrink or grow the web page to fit to the screen width. Okay, so this is one of the technique we use in current mobile browsers and all. Okay, to shrink or to expand web pages to fit to the screen. So viewport is a user's visible area of web page. Okay, the term generally the viewport means, okay, it's a visible area of the web page. Okay, when you open a web page in a browser, you see a visible area, correct, which may contain image, form data or menu. Okay, so that visible area is called as viewport. So that viewport varies in terms of different size with respect to the device, okay, and will be smaller on mobile phones, okay, compared to that of a computer screen. When we open a website, we see the viewport, okay, so it will be smaller in mobile phones, okay, compared to the one which you open in the laptop or computer screen. So this is an example, okay, how we can use viewport so that our browser window will get adjusted automatically to the window size. Okay, so this is a built-in meta. Okay, so we are using meta tag, and these are the attributes. Okay, with the fixed values. So name is equal to viewport. So like we have to give as it is. Okay, and content is equal to width equal to device hyphen width. Okay, so this like this only we have to give. So here width is equal to device hyphen width. Okay, so this is one of the important attribute value which we give for content. So this will part sets the width of the page to follow the screen width of the device. So this is one of the important attribute. So based on the screen, it will adjust the width. Okay. So follows the screen width of the device, which will vary depending on the device. So you can see here, if you use viewport, okay. So if you use meta name viewport, then content is equal to this. Okay. You can see here, mobile browser renders the web page on its viewport. This is a viewport, okay, which is of 960 pixels. Okay. So automatically it will get adjusted. And similarly, you can see here. So you can see here, this is an example which shows without viewport, okay, how it is getting displayed. And if you are using meta viewport, you can see how it is getting, how it is displayed. See the difference when you sprint, or you see how it is getting registered with viewport. Okay. And this is without viewport here. Okay. You cannot minimize. This is without viewport, and this one is with viewport. You can see here, if you browse this page with phone or a tab, you can click on the two links below to see the difference. Okay. So this we can open in mobile phone, and you can see the difference, how neatly this will be displayed and how this will be displayed. Okay. So in mobile phone, if you display this, okay, you can see the website will not be displayed neatly. Okay, some part of the image or some part of the text will not be visible clearly in the mobile phone and all. Okay, but if you use viewport, we don't have any such problems. So this is the example which you have in the textbook. Okay. Here we are opening the website in 320 pixel screen. Okay. How it is displayed and how it is displayed when a larger screen with the viewport. The next one is media query. So this is one more concept which is used for creating responsive websites. Okay, media query is a CSS technique introduced in CSS 3. We have different versions of CSS. Okay. So in version CSS 3, this media query concept is introduced. Okay. So in media query, we use @media. So this is a word we use. Okay, so to set the rules to include blocks of CSS property only if the certain condition is true. Okay. So it is like an if statement. Okay, if the condition is true, a block of statements will be executed. So here you can see here, this is a syntax, a sample media query. So we have used define this a media query. So define, this is a indicates we are defining the media query, and only use this style if both the conditions are true. So what are the conditions here? We are having two conditions. So first condition is this one, and the second condition is this, which are both separated with and. Okay, so and indicates if both conditions are true. So same as the if statement or and. Okay. So here, the first is it tells the device has to be a screen. Okay, so the first condition is the device has to be a screen. The second condition is use the style if the width of viewport is no wider than 480 pixels. Okay, so you have to display. Okay, you have to use this style which is defined in the block. Okay, here in the curly braces, you can define style rules. Okay, you can define font size is equal to 20 pixels, color is equal to, you can define different style rules here. Okay, which will be applied only if these two conditions are true. So first condition is it should be a device with the screen, and the second condition is the maximum width should be only 480 pixels. Okay, no wider than 480 pixels. Okay. It should be either less than or equal to 480 pixels. Only then this rules, okay, CSS rules will be applied. So let's look at an example. So here you can see. So here we have defined a media query. So this is a media query. You can see. By default, we have a body with the background color as light green, which you can see here. This is a light green maximum, correct? And you can see here what are the width. We are having width as 668 and 508, which is a width and the height. Okay. Now we are telling that there are two conditions. The first condition is it should be a screen and the maximum width is 600 pixels. Okay. So if it goes below maximum, okay, if it goes below, okay, maximum width, okay, apply this background color as light blue only if it is a screen and the maximum width is 600 pixels. Okay, below or equal to 600 pixels. Now what is the size? It is width is 488 pixels, correct, which is less than 600 pixels. So that is why we are having background color as light blue. You can see the difference when it goes. Okay, see the number here. So still we are in 425, 548. You can see now we will reach 600. Okay, till 600. Okay, this condition will be applied. Okay. Now when we go the width more than 600, so if we are going this width more than 600, this condition will not be applied. So by default we are having the background color as light green. So this is one example. Okay. So like that you can give different style rules here, okay, based on the conditions. So these queries are Boolean expressions and can be added to the CSS file or to the link element to conditionally use different external CSS file based on the capability of the device. So instead of having, okay, the media query defined here itself, you can have the external CSS. We have studied external CSS file, right? So same way you can have external CSS file to define this media query. Here, so these are different media queries. Okay, so this is a media query we have written, and the condition is it should be screen and the maximum width should be 480, less than or equal to 480 pixels. Then you have to apply this rule. Okay, so that is for phone. Okay, the phone, for phone we can have maximum. We are defining. Okay, if it is less than or equal to 48 pixels, okay, then go for this rules. So that is defined for phone. Now suppose if you are opening the website in a tab, okay, then this is a condition we are applying. So that is minimum width. Okay, here we are having minimum width as 480. So this is for setting the rules for the tab. Same way we are setting the rule for the desktop or laptops. Okay, so laptop it will be little bit the width will be greater. Okay, the large width you can see. So that is why we are using min width as for minimum width. Okay, so to apply this style rules, the minimum width should be 769 pixels. Okay. So this rule will be applied only if the minimum width is 768 pixels or higher. Okay. Only then this will be applied. So max width means maximum this much or less than this much. Min width means minimum this much. Okay, or greater than that. Okay. So these are the different rules we are setting. Okay, for the same website to open in different devices. Okay. For example, you are having a website, you want to open it in different devices, you can set these rules. Okay. So this is for phone, this is for displaying in tab, and this is for displaying in laptop or in desktop applications. So here, instead of having all the rules in a single file, you can see here, this all the rules we have defined in a single file, okay, which is styles.css. Instead of defining all the rules in a single file, we can put the rules in a separate file and add the media queries in the link element. So what we are telling is, here we can have an external CSS file. Okay. So these are three external CSS files. Okay. So you can see here there are three external CSS files: mobile.css, tablet.css, and this is for desktop.css. And for these three different devices, we have three different files. Okay. And we have defined the media queries here. Okay, we are just to use the screen, and these two conditions should be true. Okay, if these two conditions are true, then we are using the styles, okay, the rules which are defined in mobile.css file. So inside this file, we are having CSS rules which will be applied only if this condition is true. Okay, and similarly, if these two conditions are true, then we are using the rules which are defined in desktop.css. Okay. So this is one example for defining all the rules in a separate files. Okay, we are defining the rules in a separate file and adding media query. Okay, so this is a media query in a link tag. Okay, so link tag or link element. So this look almost the same as the external, similar to the external CSS. Okay. The only difference is in external CSS, we just specify the file, external file name, CSS file name, and we don't have this. Okay. But when you have a media, like this media is equal to two conditions, that means it is a media query file. Okay, so this is a media query file. So you can view this example. This is a very simple example. So the next one is CSS frameworks. So CSS framework is a pre-created set of CSS classes or other software tools. Okay. So CSS framework is similar to the other framework like .NET frameworks. Okay. So here also in the CSS framework we are having set of predefined or pre-created classes. Like in .NET we are having built-in libraries. Okay. Similar to that, in CSS framework we are having software tools and predefined CSS classes. Okay. That makes it easier to use and work with the CSS. So you can use the CSS framework, okay, when giving the styles to the websites. So there are two main types of CSS frameworks. So we are studying these two. First one is a grid system. Another one is CSS preprocessors. Okay. So they may ask you in the exam, explain two types or two main types of CSS frameworks. Or they may ask you individually, explain grid system or explain CSS preprocessor with example. Okay. So first we will study about grid system. So we already studied about how to create multiple column layouts, correct? So we can use either float property. Okay. So I hope you remember uh, we have discussed how to create multiple column layouts using float. Okay, which can also be done using position property by giving values like absolute. Okay, we can create multiple columns. I had shown you 2-column layout, 3-column layouts. Okay. So grid system is one of the way which is used for creating multiple column layouts. Okay. So nowadays most of the websites uses grid system for creating the websites. Okay. So which will be wherein you can use multiple column layouts for creating the websites. So these are some of the common CSS grid systems which is used for developing the websites. Bootstrap. Okay. So we can use this link to access some websites and all. So Bootstrap, you can download Bootstrap. Blueprint. So this is one that this is a link for accessing the blueprint grid system. And 960. So this is one more which can be accessed using 960.js. So these are the 3 grid systems, common and most often used grid system. In companies and all, they develop the websites using this Bootstrap and all. So CSS provides similar grid features. Okay. So how many grids we have? So grid is nothing but it looks something like this. So this is a grid view. So many web pages are based on the grid view, which means that the pages are divided into columns. So we saw how uh, we can have 3-column layouts using float or position property. Okay. So here it is a multi-column which is called as a grid view. You can see here not just 3 or 2 columns we have around 12, 16 columns. Okay. So using a grid view is very helpful when designing the web pages. It makes it easier to place elements on the web page. You can see here. So these how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 grid we have, or 12 columns we have here. So you can see here how we can combine these grids. Okay. So when designing the website, what we can do is we can combine these grids, 12 grids, and here this 12 grids can be used to keep the menu. Okay, here you can have the menu, and similarly these 3 can be used for displaying the left menu bar, and here these 3 can be used combined and can be used for displaying news or blocks, okay, or any events. And similarly the middle 6 we can use for displaying the contents, and the last 12 we can use for displaying the footers. Okay, so neatly you can design the web pages using the grid view. Okay. So responsive grid view often has 12 columns, okay, and it's a total width. As you can see here, the total width is 100% and will shrink or expand as you resize the browser window. So as we resize the browser window, you can see it will shrink or resize. So this is an example. Okay. This is a grid view. You can see as you shrink here how the grid will get adjusted. Grid columns width is getting adjusted. Okay. It will not have any effect on the display of the web pages. Okay. So neatly it will display the web pages. Yeah, grid is constructed using view elements, okay, with classes defined by the frameworks. Okay, so classes, you need not define the classes. Okay, already the class names. Usually, what we do is you give your own name for the classes, correct? But here you need not give the class name. Those classes are already defined in the framework. You just need to know the name of those classes, and based on that, your requirement, you can use those classes which are defined in the framework. Okay, so HTML elements for the rest of your sites are then placed within the view element. So whatever the elements, it can be an image, or it can be a paragraph, or it can be link, you can keep it within the view elements. So you can see here, so most web pages begins with the grid, and in this case you can see how many grids. So here we are having 7-column grids is being used to create the web page. Okay, it's a 7-page grid. Okay, you can see here. Here we are using 3 columns. Okay, and yeah, 3 columns. We are combining and displaying this elements. We are displaying using 3 columns. Okay, like that, you can combine the columns and you can display. Here, while displaying this paragraph, we are combining all the 7 columns. Again, for this, we are combining all the 7 columns while displaying. Okay. So, without the grid line visible, okay, when you are displaying it in the browser, this grid line will not be visible. Only when you are working, okay, this will be visible. Okay, elements on the page do not look random but planned and harmonious. Okay, you can see how neatly it will be displayed. So this is an example where it uses 960 grid. Okay. So this is one framework 960 grid. Here how many grid we have? Around 12 grid we have, and we are using 960.css. And for displaying the left columns, we are combining the 2 columns. Okay. So 2 columns, when we are combining, we can use this built-in class. That is, these are built-in classes, okay, which is there in this 960 framework. So when you are combining the left 2 columns, you can use grid 2. When you are combining the 7 columns, you can use grid 7. Okay. Similarly, when you are combining 3 columns, you can use grid 3. Okay. Last one, you can use here. So altogether, it is how many? 2 plus 7 plus 3, it is 12. So we are using, okay, neatly we are utilizing all the 12 columns, okay, all the 12 columns for displaying the content. So first 2 for displaying the left column, next is for main content, and the last 3 is for right column. Okay. So like this, you can go through this Bootstrap or 960 framework. Okay, how to design the websites using grid system. You can also make use of this grid system for a display for your mini project. Okay, you can also use this grid system. Okay, Bootstrap or 960 framework for designing the website. So this is using Bootstrap. Okay. So Bootstrap, how many? 12 columns. Okay. You can see here the name of the class. So class name. These are all built-in class which is there in the framework. Okay. So class container, class row. So this is used for combining the left column. Okay. See the name of the class. Okay. These are built-in class call -md-2. So these names you have to know. You will get the information about these classes when you access the Bootstrap web pages. Okay. So this is combining for 11 columns. If you want to combine, you have to use this class. So again, to combine the 3 columns, you can use this call md3. Okay. So in addition to this, okay, which is in addition to the property rules which is defined, style rules which is defined in this class, you can use your own additional styles. So you can give your additional background color, color of the font. Okay, so you can give additional colors based on your requirement in addition to the styles which is defined in this class. So this is one example for which is displayed, which is developed using Bootstrap classes. Okay, using grid systems. Okay, here you can see the grid system, how neatly it is displaying for left column and for displaying these images. Even though you shrink or you expand the website or browser window neatly, these images will be displayed. Okay, you can access, you can Google and see websites which is designed using 960 framework or Bootstrap. Okay, you will get the list of websites. You can see how it neatly it will be displayed. So the next one is CSS preprocessors. The next one is CSS preprocessors. So CSS preprocessors are the tools that allow the developers to write CSS that takes advantage of programming ideas. So in CSS preprocessor, we are taking the advantage or we are using the concepts of programming. So different concepts of programming language like inheritance, variable creation, different conditional statements, if statements, calculation, concept of functions. Okay. So all these ideas which we get in programming language is used in CSS preprocessors. So CSS preprocessor, it is a tool. Okay. So it is a tool that takes code written in some type of preprocessor language. Okay. So this for this preprocessor, you have to view the code which is written in a pre-processed language, and that will be converted into a normal CSS. So here there will be a CSS preprocessor which is a tool. Okay, so I'll just type preprocessor. Okay. So for this we are giving some code which is written in a preprocessor language. Okay. So which will be having the programming language ideas, okay, where you'll be having functions, variable creation, inheritance, all this will be there in this code. Okay, all the programming language ideas will be there in this code, which will be given as an input for this preprocessor tool, and this will be converted into a normal CSS, which we have studied in our CSS, right? So this will be converted into a normal CSS. So normal CSS which will be having just simple rules. Okay. So this is a preprocessor for which we are giving preprocessor language as input. This will be converted into a normal CSS. The advantage of going for CSS preprocessor is that it can provide additional functionalities that is not available in the CSS. Okay. So in preprocessor, we can use additional functionalities like functions, variable creation, if statement, which are not there in the normal CSS. So you can see here, so this is a preprocessor. Okay, this is a code which is written in a preprocessor language. Okay. So that fine. Okay, this is one of the example for CSS preprocessor. Okay. SAS example for CSS preprocessor. Okay. Similarly, you have different preprocessor like the stylus, okay, LESS. Okay. So you have different preprocessors. So you can see the extension. Okay. So it is not having this preprocessor SASS. It is not having the extension .css, okay, but instead it is having the extension .sccs. Okay. The SASS stands for syntactically awesome style sheet. Okay. So it is having the extension .scss. So let us look into the preprocessor code. So this is a variable declaration. These are all variables. Okay, so we have how many? 3 variables. Okay, which are given with the different values. So this is a variable with the value color value. This is one more with the color value, and this is a variable for padding, which we are given the value in terms of unit em. Okay, so these are 3 variables. So variables are defined here. So if they ask you in the exam preprocessor, give an example. You have to give an example. Okay. So here we have, okay, there is a reference variable. Okay, here we are using the variables. Okay, here we have a class called as a footer. Okay. And inside that you can see we are referring to the variable. Which variable we are referring? We are referring to the first variable. So dollar color scheme A. So you can reference variable elsewhere. Anywhere you can refer to the variable. SASS also supports math operators. You can see here we are giving the background color. Okay, we are not defining any color value. Instead, we are referring to the variable, which in turn is having the color value. Okay. Similarly, here we are not directly we are giving the padding, okay, like 10 pixel or 100 pixel, but instead we are referring to the variable, okay, which is this variable dollar padding common, which is given with the value dot 0.25 em. Okay, and also we are using the mathematical operator. So what operator we are using? It is into 2. That means 0.25 into 2. So padding value is how much? 50. Okay, into 2. So that is a value which will be assigned to the padding. Okay. So next we are using here a mixing. Okay. So this is a mixing is a like a function. For creating a function, okay, we are using this mixing keyword. So which will take, okay, so this is a keyword we are using for creating the function, and this is the name of the function rectangle. Okay, it's the name of the function, and it takes 2 parameters. Okay, these are 2 parameters, and dollar color black, which is defined. Yeah, it is a parameter. Okay, which I'll tell later. Okay, so this is a function. Inside this function, we are having border. Okay. So solid 1 pixel, and the color it is referring the variable. Okay. Dollar border, and margin we are giving 3 pixel. Background color we are giving dollar black, which is taking it from the parameter. So dollar black and dollar border is here. Okay. Similar to the function we have in C. Okay. Now next coming to this field set. Okay. So this is a class field set. You can see here the field set is referring to the uh, it is calling the function. Okay, inside this we are calling the function which is defined here. Okay, include, okay, at include what function? We have to include this function rectangle. Okay, so what colors we are passing? We are passing these 2 colors. Okay, so you can give a color like red comma green. Okay, here we are giving the name of the variable, these 2 variables, that is color schema B and color schema A. Okay, these 2 are variable which is already defined, and we are calling this function rectangle. Okay, so this is a call to the function which is having these 2 rules, that is for border, margin and background color. And similarly, we have one more dot box. Okay. And here also we are calling the same function. Okay. So we are calling the same function rectangle, and in addition to that we have padding value dollar padding common, which is defined here, which is nothing but 0.25 em. Okay. So this box has two rules. One rule is fetching from a function, built-in function rectangle. Another one is padding rule, which is taking it from the variable. Now you can see whatever the preprocessor, okay, this is a preprocessor code, whatever you have written, okay, which will be given as an input to the preprocessor. So this is a preprocessor tool. So process is some type of tool that the developer could run. Okay, the code which you have written with the name source.scss. Okay, this is this file. Okay, which will be given as an input for this processor. Okay, which will be converted into a normal CSS. Okay, you can see this is a normal CSS with no functions, no mathematical operations. Okay, a output from the processor is a normal CSS that could then be referenced, which can be used by the HTML source file. Okay, so you can see here this is a normal CSS file. Okay, the border, margin. Okay, so this is the style rules which we have already studied. So this is an example for CSS preprocessor. Okay, so this will complete your second module. Any doubts?